Good morning, everyone. This is Dave Campbell with another Dave Campbell short. So, I'm reading Jeremiah. I think I told you before when I read Jeremiah, chapter 1, I read it 3 times in a row. And I always get something different and new every time I read it. I've read it, that's got to be 100 times. So, lots of times. What I want you to get out of this morning is that I'm seeing a declaration to Jeremiah from God that applies to today, and it is about declaring a new law. And the law that we're going to declare, and this, I hope my hair is okay. This morning, this new law, it is morning. This new law isn't really new at all. It has to do with reason. It has to do with thinking things through, and the purpose of law, the purpose of seeing yourself as a dual being, both spirit and matter. Both a creature, a beast, and filled with divine promise. Okay, the ability for a created being to be sentient or thinking. When you can separate yourself as a beast and a divine being, that's like the main lesson of wisdom, because from that point you begin to ascertain that, well, hey, there's two sides to every story. So, taking that a step further, you have law and you have impact of law. You have a command giver and then the doer of the command, don't you? Well, it gets a little more complicated when you say, well, I have two sides within myself, and I can see that knowledge itself is a burden to the beast or the flesh, because now that I said something to somebody else they have to do, I have to set an example myself. Can you see that? I mean, it's easy to make a law and implement it on a society, but if the leaders can't keep the law, how much impact is the law going to have long term? So the challenge of Jeremiah is the same challenge for us today. It's our challenge, and it's so interesting because one of the key premises of this first chapter of Jeremiah, and I would argue throughout the entire Bible, is that there are desires of the spirit and there are desires of the flesh. In other words, knowledge has a desired impact, and the beast also has desires that it wants to be impacted. You know, you get hungry, you want to eat. You get thirsty, you want to drink. You know, you're tired, you want to sleep. Well, a law, when it is written, has a desire. Okay, you got to see it. It has a desire to be obeyed, doesn't it? Now you're gonna think, well, Dave, you're kind of out there. I'm not disagreeing with that, because a lot of people don't sit and think about stuff like this, but there are lots of people over history who have actually stopped and thought about this, because the Bible is written and it's chock full of this kind of information. But let's look at the word Jeremiah. Let's just look at the word itself, Jeremiah. And I want you to consider something. The letter J. Well, Dave, that's just the letter J. Well, of course it is. But what is the letter J? Well, it's the 10th letter of the alphabet. Why does it have the shape it has? Why does that J look like that? Why does that E have that shape, or that R? Well, over time, those letters were canonized in the English language and the English alphabet. They were agreed upon by councils, and they were assembled in the order that they were assembled, because they had the weight and the authority of that time as being what would teach the people how to speak. So do you understand the point that I'm making? These seamlessly dead letters, they have no life in them, do they? They're just sitting here on a white piece of paper. All right? But when I read about Jeremiah, I can say the word Jeremiah, right? I can picture a man, because that's a male's name. I know that this is a Hebrew man, or a man from Israel. And further, I can know that because the history of this lesson tells us where he's from. But I want you to see something, the power that these letters have to form a sound in your mouth which can convey meaning to another person. That is power. So let me ask you a question. Are books filled with words and letters powerless, or do they have power? They got a ton of power, don't they? If you think about it. When a police officer stops you and writes you a ticket for $100 for speeding, and you ignore it, you're going to get another ticket, aren't you? You're going to be in bigger trouble the more you ignore that little piece of paper with these symbols on it, aren't you? So the basic premise that I'm trying to bring out, and actually that's here, is that in the end of time, the end time of the human race, which I interpret to mean, once we understand this basic idea that law is for the good of us, but it's also a stringent thing that we consider it a burden. but it's within all of us, both sides of us, our individual persons, have to wrestle with the desire of the spirit or the letter, the written language or the laws. We have to wrestle with those, but we also have to wrestle with the desires that are coming natural to us as beasts. So you have a dual kind of a situation going on. And that's a great platform for understanding an individual in society, or independence and interdependence, and concepts like this, where you have to learn how to function with organizations and in society. So laws become an increasingly important thing, and they also become the springboard for even crafting new laws, obviously. So anyway, I could go on talking about this forever, but I want to wrap it up. It's your ability to discern that when you say something, you want it to happen. That's a desire. And on the other side of that, you're trying to fulfill a desire of your flesh by doing that. You're using a spiritual principle. In other words, the letters on a page are they're lifeless, but they capture the meaning of centuries of powerful symbology that convey meaning. So they do have a life. They are alive. The spirit is alive. That's why, scientists, when they say, I don't believe in spirits, they're undereducated. They just don't understand what a letter is, or an alphabet is. They use spirit all the time. The periodic table of the elements is a representation of symbols that have been ascertained from years of study from people that were here before they were. That's spiritual power. That's conveyance of long ago principles. That's a ghost. That's every time you see a letter, it's like a ghost in a form. Sting has a great song. It's called "Ghost in the Police had an album, "Ghost in the Machine," and they got the Police have the Spirits in the Material World. That's a great song. But anyway, we're going to be introducing this concept to the world. It's going to be part of the regeneration model, the global law, and it's most definitely going to impact our law writing and lawmaking. And it's the objective of the law isn't to throw people in jail or drive them off their lands or steal from them. It's peace and having a good dinner, playing with your kids, and watching your kids, aspiring to go play in the NFL. It's all those things. It's the joy of life and living, okay? And we're going to take that to the leaders of this world, to every person, the superpowers. We're going to put down kleptocracy with this book right here. With this book, the Bible. All right? So you have a good day. Thanks for letting me chat with you this morning. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, especially if you're a church leader. You need to get off your butt and start passing the word about Dave Campbell. I didn't come to this planet for nothing, and neither did you. We got lots of work to do. We got to build our kingdom of God right here on this earth.